Hi, Joc Jacquay again. Welcome to part 3 of the Next Gen AI Survival Seminar. This section is relatively short, but is incredibly important. Data. What's it mean? Why is it scary? And how is it important? Really, Bandit? Really? That's my dog in the background. I'm going to leave that in there. All of you should listen to Bandit. If you recall, we talked about the data centers and all the data that they have. This includes all the Wikipedia, all the Reddit, anything that's published and available somewhere on the internet, in the New York Times, in publications, Sports Illustrated, all the technology journals, all the newspapers, the stories, all of that data is stored somewhere in those data centers. So let's talk about where AI gets its data today and in the future. Today, it gets it from public available internet capabilities. Like I said, the Associated Press has a free service where you can get their articles. So it goes and scans the article for information. It can go to Reddit and get all the different Reddit users and what they are talking about and the subjects that they talk about. It gets it from any publicly available source. And that amount of information isn't going to go down. That's not what this means. But it means that the source of that data as a percentage of the total over time is going to go down. Then it's going to go to enterprise and organizational data. And what exactly does that mean? So if you're running a business, so let's take Bank of America. Bank of America is going to have all of its data for its customers. Now, that's not publicly available, but it will be able to talk to and use its data for its purposes. So when Bank of America says, okay, I want to go and analyze how many different customers have increased their savings account by 10% over the last year, it has AI, it will be building AI agents that go and do that sort of query and then do something with that data. So for example, you may find yourself having an ability in the bank to say, every time somebody increases their savings account by 10%, I want you to analyze this, send them this email, send them that message, and by the way, do the following 3 or 4 things. But the data that it's getting is within its data set. Sensor and machine data make up another huge chunk of the data today. And that also over time is going to decline. Why is it going to decline? Go to the bottom part there. And that's the synthetic data. But before I do that, I want to go to industry-specific or regulated data. And let me pose this question to you. If the data centers had every diagnosis made by every doctor in the world for as far back as there are records, and your social security number was left off, your name was left off, but it kept your ethnicity, kept your sex, and it said, Joc's blood work had A, B, C, D, E. Here's what was wrong with it. Here's what we did. Here were the results. Imagine a database that had every single human's medical records and the result of any treatment that they ever had in a single database. Do you not think that healthcare would be better off with a doctor going to an AI agent and saying, look at everything that's ever been done and give me the best solution? What's the best thing we can do for this patient? The problem with that is that nobody's going to let anybody have all that data. It'll take a long time to get the world to accept the fact that there are safeguards for having all of that data. So those are the questions that are facing us. Today we have public data, we have private data. And we have data that, will that private data ever be allowed to be made public? And keeping anonymity associated with that. That's a huge question that we're going to have to answer. AI will be even more powerful the more and the higher the quality the data it has, and that leads to synthetic data. Let's say you worked in a human resources firm and you said, I want to create a resume for the best salesperson ever. Not a resume, a job description. So go look at the last 5,000 people that were hired and tell me what the profile is of what that person should look like, what the resume should look like, what was good, what was bad, blah, 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 blah. You set it all up. But let's say that that database only went and looked at resumes of somebody over 50 years old, white, living in Phoenix, with a undergraduate degree in accounting and finance and a graduate degree in economics. It would spit out data that kind of reflected that. So how computers are asked questions to go and create databases by scouring other databases, that's what they call synthetic data, is absolutely critical if you want to get rid of bias, or if you have nefarious means and you want to include bias. I can't begin to express from my perspective how scary the world of data is. And if there's one thing that needs to be somehow, I don't like regulations very much, but somehow understood and controlled, it's where that data comes from and where that data is stored and how anonymity is protected. Because that gets into the privacy challenge. Would I allow all of my banking, imagine this scenario. Imagine everybody's Charles Schwab account. Every trade that's ever been made, based on what kind of a portfolio, what their combination of portfolios was, what they were and weren't invested in, and all of that were available in a single database. A company like UBS may have that for its clients, and Merrill Lynch for its clients, Charles Schwab for its clients. But imagine if they had that for every client in the world that ever traded. And then you asked AI, tell me what the best trades are in the world. How can I do the best? It's where that data comes from. And so the question that becomes, how do you protect trade secrets? How do you protect the competitive advantage that somebody may have? And offset that with what the competition is going to go do. Finally, as my dog drinks in the background, oh, what are some of the guardrails to protect data? Well, encryption is one of them. How do you scramble that data so only authorized users can read it? Or how do you take out your personal information, collect only what's necessary? For example, in those health records, take out my name and my social security number. You can also say who gets access to that data. And AI agents can actually determine which other AI agents and what authentication those AI agents have to do that. And last but not least, there's regulations. Regulations scare me. This old guy isn't a big believer in big government. But at some point in time, there's going to have to be guardrails in there from a regulatory perspective to protect people. That's the world of data. We've talked about how the internet transports the data, how the Internet of Things and all the devices generate the data, and then all the different sources of the data. Now we're going to talk about AI, and what AI is going to do, what AI is and will be doing with all of that data.